With that, chapter 10 is over. Now we are moving to the next chapter, chapter 11. Write the heading, chapter 11, budgetary control. Budgetary control. This is basically the first chapter in part 2 of part B of your syllabus. Okay, part A has two parts, part 1 and part 2. Similarly, part B has part 1 and part 2. Chapter 10 up to chapter 10 was in part 1 of part B. Now chapter 11 and 12, it is there in the part 2 of part B. Okay, so we are starting with part 2. Part 1 is not over, we will come to that. Okay, right. Now from the exam perspective, this chapter is a very simple chapter, because budgetary control, the whole emphasis of budgetary control as well as the preparation of budgets, etc., that was shifted from CA final syllabus to CA intermediate syllabus. Okay, so in intermediate you would have learned about functional budgets, then flexible budgets, then preparation of flexible budget, reconciliation of budgets, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so coming to see a final level, you are not much concerned about the budget preparation aspect and all, but we are learning some new aspect which or new developments in the case of budgetary control. That is what we are mainly concentrating in this particular chapter. Okay, so let's start this chapter. Now we have to start with meaning of budgetary control. Okay, meaning of budgetary control. What do you mean by budgetary control? Budgetary control is a comprehensive process. It's a comprehensive process consisting of what all things? One, preparation of budgets. Preparation of budget. That is the first step. You need to prepare the budget. When you prepare the budget, you have to prepare it for the future period. Nobody makes any budget for the past period. Budget is always prepared for the future period. And then what you have to do, once your budget is prepared, then measuring the actual performance with the budget. Okay, this is the second step. You prepared budget. When do you prepare budget? You prepare budget before the commencement of the budget period. Once you have prepared the budget, then the budget period, let it continue, and once the budget period is actually over, you need to measure the figures or the cost data, revenue information for the period which is over. Now what you have to do, you need to compare the budgetary data with this actual data. Okay, so comparison, this is nothing but comparison of actual data with the budgetary data. With the budgetary data. Then next one, determine and analyze the variance. Okay, what do you mean by variance? Variance refers to the difference between budget figures and actual figures. Budget figures and actual figures. Okay, so this preparation of budget, when does it happen? This happens before the budget period. Okay, and what about this measurement? Measurement, actually this measurement will happen during the budget period, because cost and revenue informations are collected at real-time basis. As and when it goes, the period is getting over. If one day is over, you need to compute the data for one day. when one more day is over, then you measure the data for that day. So like that, it should be a real-time process during the budget period. But what about this third step, that is determining and analyzing the variance? This is after the budget period. Is it clear? Okay, so this is the sum and substance of budgetary control. Budgetary control is a comprehensive process of preparing the budget for a future period, then comparing the actual performance with the budgeted performance, then determining the variance between the budgets and actual performance, and analyzing the reasons for it. Now once you have analyzed the reasons, what you have to do? Take necessary steps. Necessary steps. Necessary steps will include what all things will include? Revision of next period budget, next period budget. So if when you saw the variance, you came across certain principles which you feel that which needs to be incorporated in the subsequent budget, you can incorporate it. Okay, now raw material cost. Raw material cost was budgeted at rupees 5 per unit for a particular period, but during that period, that cost came down drastically to 2 rupees due to some technology or whatever. Now, when you prepare the budget cost or raw material cost for the next budget period, you need not keep the previous 5 rupee. You can keep your budget the cost as 2 rupee or 3 rupee, whatever. Okay, so there may be certain variances which will force the management or the budget preparing team to incorporate in the coming budget. That is one thing. Second thing is to take corrective actions. Corrective action to control variance, especially adverse variance. Okay, the profit you expected was 1 lakh, but you got only 50,000. There is a difference of 50,000 in the profit expected. Okay, why did it happen? What is the reason? There is some reasons found out. Now, after identifying the reasons, you have to correct those reasons. How can you correct? By taking necessary actions. Okay, so that is to take corrective actions to control the variance. Okay, now this is only a preliminary. Now we are moving to the next topic. This is a bit important topic. Okay, control schemes in budgetary control. Control schemes in budgetary control. Okay, now okay, now why do you need control schemes in budgetary control? Okay, now budgetary controls need control schemes because you need to avoid variance to the maximum. Okay, avoid variance to the maximum. To the maximum extent possible, the budgeted figures should be equal to what? Actual figures. If it is not equal, what will happen? Or if it is too much, there is too much of variance, what will happen? Your entire planning will go. Okay, it is a huge risk. It's a huge risk. You are budgeting certain things. You are budgeting a production of 1 lakh units in a month, but you are able to achieve only 20,000. Your entire planning will go. What will happen to your operations? You are able to produce only 20,000, so you can sell only 20,000. Now the revenue will be only from the 20,000 units. You have planned your staff cost based on this 1 lakh unit. So when you get revenue only from 20,000 units, you won't be able to pay it off your staff. You won't be able to pay your your suppliers from whom you have purchased the materials for 1 lakh units. So many things will come together when your actual data or actual performance is not in line with budgeted performance. So what you need to do, you need to avoid the variance to the maximum. And for avoiding this variance, you need what? Control schemes. And there are basically two types of control schemes in budgetary control. One is feedback controls, and the other is feed forward control. Okay, now what is the difference between feedback control and feed forward control? I will try to explain with an example. Okay, example. Now let us say Mr. A is a CA student, CA final student. Okay, CA final student, and he is going to appear for CA final exam in, let us say, May 2020. It is over. Okay, so let us assume he is going to appear in 2020. We are starting at January 2020 or whatever. Okay, now what he is doing is he prepared for SCM and PE in the way he knows. He had a lot of preparation strategies. He adopted those strategies and he prepared for SCM and PE. Okay, and what he did, he went for writing the exam. He wrote the exam. Okay, he wrote the exam for May 2020. Now, exam was a bit difficult for him. Results came. When the results came, what happened? The mark what he got was, let us say, was only 35 for SCMPE. Okay. So what was his objective? His objective was to get at least 60. Okay. But he got only 35. Now, why he got only 35? Because his preparation was not up to the mark. Okay. Now what he is doing? He know that his preparation for the past attempt went wrong. How did you get that conclusion? How did he arrive at that conclusion? Because the mark what he got after the exam was only 35, whereas he wanted how much? 60. Okay, so once the results are out, he is going back to his preparation strategy for the previous exam, and he know that that was a wrong strategy. He need improvements or corrections in a drastic manner. Okay, so he had this strategy, his strategy. So he went through the strategy. He saw how many hours he was preparing. He saw that he prepared only for 5 hours a day. Okay, he revised the preparation time from 5 hours to 10 hours. Then he saw which all are the concepts which he was not clear about in SCMP. So he analyzed why this concepts was not clear to him. He understood that he couldn't attend a proper class for him. So he understood that I need to attend for a class, so I will attend a class. So like that he planned. How did he plan? He planned based on the feedback he got based on a past activity. And what was that past activity? The past exam. He appeared for an exam. Okay, he appeared for an exam and he flunked, he failed. And why he failed? That analysis he did. And based on that analysis, he prepared for next attempt, that is November 2020. And he wrote the exam and he got, let us say, 60 plus in November 2020. Okay, so here also he had certain controls to for what? Controls to prevent variance between his expected result and actual result. What was his expected result? His expected result was 60. And what was his actual result? In May 2020 it was 35, whereas in November 2020 it was 60 plus itself. Okay, so in now May 2020 his expectation was different from his actual result. And from that incident he learned a lot of things. He got the feedback and he implemented those controls for next attempts or next period, that is November 2020, and he was able to achieve his target there. Okay, that is feedback control. So there is something happened, and what happened was not up to the expectation as per his expectation. So what he did, he analyzed why it happened like this. Okay, then he drew conclusions out of it. He made improvements to his strategy. He appeared for the next period and he was able to achieve the result in the next period. Okay, same thing will happen in budgeting also. You prepared a budget for, say, May 2020. You prepared a budget for May 2020. Okay, for 6 months up to, let us say, October 2020. May to October 2020, he had a budget. He prepared the budget. Budget was followed. But after October 2020, when he took the actual performance was not up to the mark or as per the budget prepared. So what happened? He failed to achieve the budgeted performance. Now what he has to do? He has to analyze the variance and find out why I was not able to achieve the budgeted performance. Okay, so reasons were listed down, proper changes were made, okay, in this strategy, and again he prepared the budget for November 2020 to what? April 2021. And once this budget period is over, he was able to achieve the budgeted performance. Okay, because he made necessary corrections or necessary controls in his strategy based on the feedback he got from the previous budget. That is feedback control. Now coming to what do you mean by feed forward control? I will come to an example. Again, same example. Here it is, instead of Mr. A, it is Mr. B. What Mr. B did? Mr. B is going to attempt his exam in November 2020 for the first time. So his first attempt is November 2020. He went and met Mr. A and asked Mr. A, hey, why did you fail last time for SCMP? So Mr. A told, I was not preparing well. I prepared only for 5 hours a day. So my preparation time was not adequate. Okay, one reason. Second reason, I could not attend certain classes. So the concepts were not clear to me. Okay, these are the main reasons why I got only 35 marks for SCMP in May 2020. That is what A told to whom? To B. So B took the opinion of A and he made a plan. What is his objective? His objective is to get 70 plus in November. His objective is to get 70 plus in November. So based on the opinion he got from Mr. A, what Mr. B did, he prepared a reverse plan. Okay, he prepared a reverse plan and he told, if I want to obtain 70 plus, I need to complete all my classes, complete all classes by, let us say, May, or let us say June 2020. June 2020. That is first requirement. Second requirement, I need to prepare for 12 hours a day. Okay, so he planned to backwards in the reverse manner. Okay, so what he did, he had this budget. His budget was to complete all classes by June 2020 and his budget was to prepare 12 hours per day. And with this budget, which was prepared in the reverse order, he went for attempting the exam and after the exam, he got 70 plus. Okay, so what is the difference between A and B? Both A and B got the expected result or budgetary performance in November 2020. But in case of A, it was a feedback control, whereas in case of B, it was a feed forward control. What A did, he waited for one attempt. He lost one attempt. Okay, his May attempt was total failure. He got only 35 marks. But from that failure, he learned a lot of lessons. He improved and he was able to achieve the desired result in the next period. That is November 2020. But on the other hand, what Mr. B did, Mr. B did not wait one attempt to fail. He went to the persons, he did the discussions and he fixed his target. Now he worked back, okay, and he calculated how much time I require for my preparation if I want to get 70 plus for my exam. So he got a fair idea that he need at least say 4 months to get 70 plus for his CNP. So he worked back and calculated he needs to complete all his classes by June itself. Okay, so that was the first target. Then second target, after during my exam leave, how much hours should I prepare? Okay, then he worked back and he came to a conclusion that I need to work for 12 hours a day. Okay, that is the second target. So the budget or the target was prepared in anticipation of the budgeted performance. Okay, and he went with that And what was the outcome? In his first attempt itself, he was able to score 70 plus. Okay, so this is a feed forward control. Okay, so what is a feedback control and what is a feed forward control? Okay, I will, please write. The first one is feedback control. Meaning of feedback control. Feedback control is a reactive control. Reactive control. Why it is a reactive control? Because it is a control exercised as a reaction to an event. In the previous example, Mr. A failed in May 2020. So as a reaction to it, he implemented certain controls. He needs to complete his classes by June. He needs to prepare at least for 10 hours a day. That was the control. And these controls was a reactive control. Okay. Now what you have to do? How you fix this reactive controls? Step number 1. Okay. Compare the actual historical results with the budgeted results. Compare the actual historical results. Historical results means already over. Historical results with the budgeted result. Same thing what Mr. A did. What did Mr. A did? After the results are out, he took the historical data, how he prepared for May 2020. That is the historical data. And he compared with the budgeted data. Okay, budgeted data. Then what he did? He know, okay, this is the variance I got. Now what he has to do? Step number 2. Understand the variance between historical budgeted data and historical actual data. Historical actual data. Now what you have to do? Analyze. Step number 3. Analyze the reasons for the variance. Okay. Analyze the reasons for variance. It is a feedback control. You are preparing, you are taking the previous period budgeted data and previous period actual data. You are analyzing that data and identifying the variances. Then you are analyzing the reasons for variances and you are taking corrective measures or reactive measures from that variance. Okay, so this is what is known as feedback control. Okay, so feedback control is a reaction after an action has taken place. Action has taken place in the past. Then this is relevant. This will be relevant only if historical budget data and actual data are available. If you don't have the budgeted data and actual data for a previous period, then what you cannot do? You cannot exercise any feedback control. Is it clear? Okay. Now, what is the advantage of a feedback control? Advantage. The main advantage is it is easy to implement. Advantage. Easy to implement. Okay. Then, because we are analyzing after the event has occurred, it is easy. Now, second, investment is very less. Okay, but there are what limitations also. What are the limitations? Major limitation It is only a corrective measure. It is only a corrective measure. It corrects an error already occurred. Okay, it corrects an error already occurred. It does not prevent any error from occurring. Okay, does not prevent the error from occurring. So this is only as good as only as good as an error detection system. It is only as good as an error detection system. Okay, nothing else. Clear? Okay. Now there are two types of feedbacks. Types of feedbacks. Okay, types of feedback. There are two types of feedback. One is positive feedback, and the next is, what would be next? Negative feedback. Positive feedback and negative feedback. Okay, now what is a positive feedback and what is a negative feedback? Okay, now negative feedback, first we will take the positive feedback. Okay, positive feedbacks are those feedbacks which force the management to reinforce the deviation happened from the standard, Okay, what is this? Suppose we will take the example of that CA final students example. Let us take the case of Mr. A. Mr. A was analyzing why he failed for a particular attempt. Okay, he failed for SEMPE in May 2020. When he analyzed the reasons, he got two reasons. One was, okay, he was expecting to prepare for 5 hours per day as per his budget. But what he did, he actually prepared for 8 hours per day. Okay, he was expected to prepare only 5 hours per day because he thought that he will be able to pass the exam with 5 hours preparation in a day. Okay, but when he actually prepared, he prepared for 8 hours because when he was preparing, he knew that, oh, I am not able to complete the syllabus, so I have to prepare more. So he actually put in how many hours? 8 hours. Okay, the second variance is he was expecting to complete his classes at least 3 months prior. Okay, but he could complete this classes only after 15 days prior actual. See these two variances. This is also variance, this is also a variance. Am I right? Now this variance, he was expecting to prepare for 5 hours, but he actually prepared how many days? 8 hours per day. Okay, now the result of this exam was a failure. So Mr. A came to a conclusion, though there was a variance in what I planned and what I did, that I worked for more, it was a good thing. Okay, why it was a good thing? If I had stick on to that 5 hours per day, then I would never been able to achieve my result. Even now I was not able to achieve, that is different thing. Okay, even now I was not able to achieve something, but that's different thing. But still, the variance which I observed, one variance which I observed is a favorable thing. So what he decide, okay, let me continue with 8 hours itself, or let me improve upon that only. So he is accepting this variance. He is accepting this variance. Okay. Or what he is doing, he is reinforcing this variance. Okay. Such feedbacks are known as a positive feedback. So he got a feedback that if he wants to prepare for his exam, he needs to prepare for more than 8 hours. Though he had planned only 5 hours, he prepared for 8 years. So there is a variance of 3 hours per day, but that is a positive feedback. Now he came to a conclusion that he needs to even work for 2 more hours. From 8, he has to jump to 10. Is it clear? Are you getting what you mean by positive feedback? Okay, now coming to the second variance, he was expecting to complete the classes at least 3 months prior, but he could complete the class only 15 days prior. Okay, is it a positive feedback? No, it is a negative feedback. So what he has to do, he has to correct this variance. Okay, next time he has to complete his class at least 3 months prior to the exam. Okay, so this is a negative feedback, whereas this is a positive feedback. So any positive feedback is anything which reinforces the management to which force the management to reinforce the deviation observed from the standard. So if you have made a deviation, the management will reinforce that deviation. Okay, that deviation is good. On the other hand, negative feedback is something which requires the management, force the management to reverse the deviation from the standard. Okay, what was the second deviation here? He was expecting to complete classes by 3 months prior, but he could complete it only 15 days prior. So this is a negative feedback. So what he has to do, this deviation has to be reversed. Next time you should complete your classes at least 3 months prior itself. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes, this is the difference between negative feedback and positive feedback. Okay, now there is one more type of feedback: primary feedback and secondary feedback. Primary feedback, secondary feedback. Okay, okay. Now what is a primary feedback and secondary feedback? Now suppose in any organization there will be various levels. Am I right? The first level will be top management. Then let us say second level is middle managers. Then third, I'm calling it as workforce. Okay, top management, middle managers, and workforce. Okay, now the any deviation or any variance will be observed where? It will be observed at the workforce level only, because they are the persons who actually works. Am I right? So any deviation will be found, deviations will be found or noticed at the lower level, that is what is known as workforce. Deviations observed. Now, once there is a deviation observed by the workforce, what will they do? They will immediately report it to the middle managers. They will immediately report it to the middle managers. Okay, why they have to report to the middle managers? Because the middle managers or immediate higher authority, middle managers or immediate higher authority, they have to take corrective steps. Corrective steps. Okay, so they reported immediately to the middle managers. This reporting to immediate middle managers is what is known as primary feedback. Primary feedback. Okay, the feedback received by middle managers from workforce is what is known as primary feedback. Now, suppose there is a variance reported. The middle managers analyze the variance and they said, okay, this is something which is not too significant, which can be taken, which can be corrected at the level of middle managers itself. So what they did, they immediately gave proper instructions to the workforce to prevent such variances in future. Okay, that is what middle managers did. Now that ends with that. That ends with that. So any primary feedback is immediately given to the previous higher authority, and they are taking corrective steps. It ends with that. There is no subsequent escalation. Is it clear? In the case of primary feedback. Now, there is one more level above these middle managers. Certain variances which were brought by the workforce, okay, to the middle managers analyzed it and they came to a conclusion that this is a variance which is too significant, which is very significant, and therefore this needs to be brought to the attention of the top management. So what they will do, this middle managers will immediately communicate this variance or deviations to the top management. So top management is getting this information about a deviation from the secondary person. Okay, top management is getting from the workforce reported to middle managers reported it to the top managers. So as far as top management is concerned, the feedback what they got is a secondary feedback. Is a secondary feedback. Is it clear? So secondary feedbacks will be there only in case of matters or variances which are too significant, and hence require the attention of the higher ups, attention of the top management or higher ups. And what this top management will do, top management will generally make changes in the budget itself, in the budget, because this is too serious, so they have to take control of this. So they will have to make necessary amendments or alterations to the existing plan or budget. So secondary feedbacks will be very crucial in nature and there will be immediate action. Whereas in case of primary feedbacks, it is reported by whom? The workforce to the middle managers. They will take steps at their level. So this is not something, the primary feedbacks will not be concerned about anything affecting the budget or anything affecting the strategic plan. No. If that comes, then such decisions will be taken by whom? Only the top management. And if it reaches the top management, it becomes a secondary feedback. Is it clear the difference between primary feedback and secondary feedback? Primary feedback are applicable only when there is the variations found is only less significant and can be corrected by the middle managers. Whereas secondary feedbacks will come when the middle managers are unable to take necessary actions or the variances found are too significant which require the immediate attention of the top management. So the middle managers report these incidents to the top management. That is known as secondary feedback or secondary reporting. So this is primary reporting, okay, primary reporting, and this is secondary reporting. So the feedback what top management got is secondary feedback, or the feedback what middle managers got is a primary feedback. Is it clear? Yes. Now write the next heading, control report. Control report. Control report. What do you mean by control report? Control report is a system of reporting feedback. Okay, this any feedback control is to be exercised, is to be implemented using control reports. That means what? Once that period is over, whatever be the actual performance and whatever be the budgeted performance, it should be compared. Who will compare? The middle managers will compare, and they will give a report to the higher management, okay, or the top management. That report in which these feedbacks are reported is what is known as control reports. Okay, so system of reporting feedback to the authorities. Okay, who report it to the authorities? Responsible persons to the top management. Okay, now what is a control report? If that is the question, then you have to write it is a system for reporting the feedback by who? The person responsible to prepare the budget and evaluate the budget. Responsible person responsible for preparation of budget and evaluation of budget. Evaluation of the budget. Okay, right. Now, so it is a system of reporting. Okay. Now, one point which you need to keep in mind is a control report does not by itself cause a change in performance. Okay. A control report does not make any changes itself in the performance. Only when an action is taken by a top management or managers based on the control reports, then only a change is happening. Okay, so you can write control reports does not bring any change to the performance. Okay, but if the management take any action on the control report, it will result in changes in the performance. Changes in the performance. Is it clear? So that is a control report. Control report is nothing but it is a system of reporting the feedbacks to the higher authorities. Okay, any control report as such will not make any changes in the performance, but when the top management or the person to whom these control reports are submitted, when they analyze the control reports and take actions on that, such actions may bring some changes in the performance. Okay, now we have to see the next type of control, that is feed forward control. Okay, feed forward control. Feed forward control. Feed forward control is a proactive control. Proactive control. Feedback control was a reactive control because it was taken as a reaction to some event occurred, whereas feed forward control is a proactive control. Why it is a proactive control? Because feed forward control helps the entity to prevent some error from occurring. Okay, Why it is proactive? The objective is to prevent the deviation from occurring. Okay. Now, what are the major features or major steps, key features or key steps? Right. Forecast the possible variations between budget and actuals. Yes, this is the most crucial aspect of any feed forward control. Okay, you have to forecast what all could be the possible variations that would happen between your budget and actuals. You are only preparing a budget now. You are making a strategy for your CA final exam, which is coming in November now. Okay, so your period is only preparation period is only going to come. Now you are thinking what all are the areas where I could go wrong, or where I should see, I should be very careful. Okay, in order to avoid variances between my expectation and my actual result. Okay, so you need to forecast. Then what you have to do, once you have forecasted the possible variations, then you have to analyze the reasons for such possible variations or variances. This is very important. Okay, once you have identified what all could be the possible variations, you have to analyze and understand the reasons for such variances. Once you have understood the reasons for such variances, then what you can do, you can take effective steps to prevent such variations. So next, third, take effective steps to prevent such variations. Okay, this is what is known as feed forward control. Okay, now so feed forward control has got two features. One is foreseeing the future variances before it occurs. Okay, then taking effective steps to prevent such future possible variances. So if you fail to foresee the variances, then you will fail to take necessary steps for controlling that variance. If you are able to foresee the variances, then you can take effective measures to control that. Okay, now what is the advantage of feed forward? Is one, it identify the errors before they occur. Okay, then two, it eliminates inefficiencies, if any, defects, etc. What do you mean by eliminating inefficiency and defects? See, here you know that what all are the reasons for variances. Okay, because we have foreseen the variances and you know what are the reasons for those variances, and you are taking effective steps for curing those variances. So naturally what will happen, if there could be a variance due to inefficiency, you are taking effective steps to cure that inefficiency, so you are eliminating the inefficiency. Similarly, if there is a possibility for a variance due to defects in the material, then you are taking effective steps to avoid that variance, so there won't be any defects. Okay, so the advantage is, one is that it prevents the errors from occurring, and it eliminates all waste, defects, then inefficiencies, etc. Now what is the limitation? What could be the limitation? One of the most important limitation is it is very difficult to implement. Difficult to implement. How can you say now? How accurately you can plan now, so that you will be able to achieve 70 plus or 75 plus for a CMPE in the coming exams. So your planning should be so accurate. So the this will be difficult to implement. And the next one, the cost of implementation will be high. Cost of implementation will be high. Okay. Then next, require complex algorithm for forecasting. For forecasting variances. Yes, this is the crucial aspect. The crucial aspect is forecasting the possible variances. How do you forecast the possible variances? You require a well-equipped, complex algorithms for forecasting the future variances. Okay, which will be very, very costly. Okay, right. So these are the major limitations of this one. Now, this is the I think this difference between this forward and feedback controls is one of the most important topic in this entire budgetary control. Okay, now you have to understand what is the concept of budget slack. Write the heading, concept of budget slack. Okay, what is budget slack? I will give you an example. Okay, now you are a CA final student who is going as a senior for a particular audit. Okay, senior for audit, and you are asked to do an audit of a company, SSA Limited. The audit is to be done. Now, what the partner will ask you? The partner will ask you, okay, you make a plan for audit and estimate budgeted time required for completing. Okay, you are given the responsibility to budget the time required for completing the audit. Okay, now you are there in the audit field for say 2 to 3 years, so you know what all are the areas where it could go wrong, because it is a company, so it is a very complicated audit. It can have lot of issues, and probably you are afraid that if I give a deadline and if I miss that deadline, then I am going to be in trouble. Am I right? I myself is giving a budget data. Okay, I myself is giving a deadline, and if I am not able to meet that deadline, then I will be in trouble. So you estimated the time required based on the audit program or audit deliverables. Okay, so you calculated for audit execution you require 10 days, then finalization you require 5 days, then review you require say 3 days, altogether you require 18 days. But after budgeting this, after preparing this required data, you got this fear, what if I miss the deadline? So what you did, you are adding 2 days to it, and for finalization you are adding 1 day, and for reviewing you are adding 1 day. So what happens, 18 becomes 22. So the real budget ought to have been 18 days, whereas now, due to your fear of variance between the budget you are preparing and the actual data, what you are doing, you are adding +4. Okay, so this is known as budget slack. Budget slack. Now, budget slack involves, or budget slack occurs when the persons who are responsible for implementing the budget is given the responsibility to prepare the budget, or the persons who are responsible for executing the budget are given the responsibility for preparing the budget. You are the person who is to execute, who is to perform the audit. Now you are given the responsibility to prepare the budget. So you feel that if I prepare a lower estimation, then probably I will be in trouble. So why don't I play safe? So what you will do, you will overestimate or you will underestimate your this one. Okay, so this overestimation of the time, and it when it comes to revenue and cost, overestimation of budgeted cost or budgeted expense or underestimation of budgeted revenue by the persons or managers who are responsible for executing the budget and preparing the budget is what is known as a budgetary slack. And why this budgetary slack is occurring? Budgetary slack occurs due to the fear of the managers in in coming up to the budgeted performance or in achieving the budgeted performance. Okay, so you can write budget slack. Budget slack is the deliberate underestimation. Budget slack is the deliberate underestimation of budgeted revenue, underestimation of budgeted revenue, or or overestimation of budgeted expense, overestimation of budgeted expense to avoid the possibility of variance, the possibility of variance. Okay, now what do you have to do? The budget slack generally occurs, the budget slack generally occurs when the budget is prepared, when the budget is prepared, when the budget is prepared by persons bar managers, by persons bar managers who are responsible, who are responsible for executing the budget, who are responsible for executing the budget. Okay, budgetary slack or budget slack, budget slack or budgetary slack is deliberately incorporated, is deliberately incorporated deliberately incorporated to prevent the chance of, to prevent the chance of underachievement of budgeted results, to prevent the underachievement of budgeted results. Is it clear? Now next, how to prevent budget slack, how to prevent budget slack, how to prevent budget slack. See, budget slack occurs because the person who is responsible for executing the budget is given an upper hand in preparing the budget. Now, can we think, okay, anyway, this budget slack will occur only if he who is responsible for doing or executing the budget is preparing the budget. So, I will do one thing. Let me make the budget. Me means who is the top management, who is included in the top management. Let me prepare the budget and impose it on these managers. Is it possible? No, it should not be done. What you have to do, you should make them to do the budget, but after they make the budget, you should review the budget and ensure that there is no slack incorporated. Okay, so you can write how to avoid budget slack. Budget slack can be avoided, budget slack can be avoided, can be avoided by monitoring the budget preparation process, the budget preparation process, budget preparation process, and also by reviewing, and also by reviewing the budget thoroughly, budget thoroughly before it is implemented, before it is implemented. Okay, so that is the concept of budget slack. Okay, now next, write the heading Effect of budget difficulty on performance. Effect of budget difficulty on performance. Budget difficulty on performance. Okay, I will come to the example of CA firm itself. Okay, in your CA firm or in your firm, you are given, you means let us say Mr. A. Mr. A is given the responsibility to do an audit of Messrs. ABC Limited. Okay, the responsibility of doing an audit of Messrs. ABC Limited. Now, the audit manager, what did the audit manager do? He has to give the time limit. I will call it as time budget. That means the time which Mr. A can take for completing the audit. Now, this audit manager, what he did, he estimated the time. He estimated the time required. Okay. Actually, the actual time required, actual in inverted comma, time required was worked out to be, let us say, 20 working days. If Mr. A is getting 20 working days, then what will be the he can effectively complete the audit. Okay, so that is the actual required time. But what the audit manager feels is that, okay, if I give him 20 days, then he will start only in a relaxed manner. It happens with everyone. It is a behavioral principle. Okay, if you have an exam next year, what will happen? Oh, you think that, okay, I have got one more year, so I will not you will not start the preparation. Okay, we will postpone. The same thing will happen here. You know that for completing the audit you have 20 days, which is more than sufficient. Okay, or which is adequate. So you may feel that, okay, anyway 20 days is there, so even if I miss 1 or 2 days, that is not going to affect, I can make it up. Am I right? I can make it up. So what the audit manager is also is feeling that, if I give 20 days, this fellow will not work for 5 days and he will work only for the balance 15 days. So what the audit manager will do, instead of giving 20 days, he will deliberately reduce 4 days out of it, and he will give how much? 16 days. Okay, 16 days, and the 16 days was allotted to Mr. A. What will Mr. A do? Mr. A will see, okay, I have got only 16 days. Oh, it's bit tricky, because actually I wanted 16, but now I have to complete the entire work in 16 days, so I have to work little bit efficiently. Okay, I will have to work little overtime, or I will have to be more productive, more effective, more efficient. So what will happen when the budget was pruned means budget time was reduced to a minimum amount by a small amount. What is happening? Your efficiency, the persons who is required to execute the budget, his efficiency is increasing. He becomes more effective. He does more planning, because he needs to do a work which normally would take 20 days. He has to complete this work in 16 days. So he will plan the work in such a manner that he will be able to complete the work in 16 days. So he will become more active, more efficient, more effective, everything good. Okay, so reducing the time period, which means increasing the budget difficulty, is good to some extent. Is good to some extent. I have heard students telling, oh, if I get 6 months leave, I won't prepare well. But if I get only 3 months, I will prepare well. So 3 months is more than adequate. So I will feel that, oh, I have got only 3 months and I have got 8 subjects. So I have to be very planned. Okay. If I get 6 months, I will feel that, oh, I have got 6 months. So why should I start now? Okay. So I will take that relaxation. Okay. So as the budget difficulty increases, slowly the efficiency increases. or the performance increases. Is it clear? The performance increases. Okay, so if the time is reduced from 20 days to 16 days, the budget, if the efficiency or the performance level of the audit staff or Mr. A will increase. Now, if he is reducing it the 16 to 15, still he will try to increase his efficiency and performance. He is reducing it to 14 days. Okay, again he feels very much pressure, highly pressurized, but still he will try to complete it in 14 days. Okay, he will work overnight, and whatever he wants to do, he will plan it accordingly, and unwanted things he will eliminate, so he will become more efficient. He makes it 13, so that is the outer limit. 13 days to complete the audit in 13 days, which normally would take 20 days. He will do whatever is possible, still he will be able to complete the audit in 13 days. Okay, now further, he is giving only 10 days. What will happen to Mr. A? So if the audit manager is allotting only 10 days, Mr. A will feel that, oh, this is a work which should be completed in 20 days, and I am awarded only how many days? 10 days. And whatever I do, I am not going to complete that work in 10 days. I will not be able to do the work in 10 days. Then why should I try? So what happens? As the budget level increases, budget difficulty increases, the performance level also will increase to some extent. But beyond some level, if you further increase the budget difficulty, it will adversely affect the actual performance. It will adversely affect the actual performance. If you increase the budget difficulty beyond a particular level, then that will have an adverse effect on the actual performance, and the performance will come down. That is why if you take page number if you take page number 11 of my material, there is a graph, there is a graphical representation given. What is happening here? Effect of budget difficulty on performance. What is happening here? Here this xy, the y-axis is the performance, and the x-axis is the budget difficulty. Now here it is easy. What is happening? If it is easy, my performance is here, my performance is here. But as I increase the difficulty, my performance gets optimized. My performance gets optimized. Okay, now what happens? Again, if I increase, my performance level decreases. Okay, it is increasing, the time is increasing, but then this is getting optimized. Okay, the performance is increasing till here. Now what happens? Further, I am increasing the budget difficulty. Further, I am increasing the budget difficulty. What will happen? Beyond this level, whatever I do, my performance level will only come down. Okay, so which is this level is known as the optimal performance budget. Okay, so I should not keep the budget in easy zone. If I keep it in easy zone, what will happen? My performance will be very low. So what I have to do? I have to increase the budget difficulty. Increase the budget difficulty till it reaches the optimum level. The moment it reaches the optimal level, then this is the level where the performance is maximum. This is the performance level. So this is maximum, beyond which it is coming down. So if I increase it, then this is coming down. Is it clear? Is it clear? So increase in budget difficulty will increase the performance in the initial time up to a certain level. But after a particular level, which is known as that optimum performance level, after that level, if you further increase the budget difficulty, then that is going to bring down the performance level. Okay, so you can increase the budget difficulty, but only up to the optimum performance level, or the level up to which you can increase the budget difficulty by increasing the performance is what is known as the optimum performance level. Okay, now let us go through this material whatever I have written. Difficulty in achieving budget is directly linked with the performance of the managers. Budgets are usually used as a measure of performance evaluation of the managers. Managers tend to respond negatively to challenging or difficult targets or budgets. Okay, if you give challenging targets, what the manager will say? Manager will say, no, no, it is very difficult to achieve. Okay, it is very difficult to achieve. So you pressurize, you tell them, yes, you need to achieve. What will happen? They will try to achieve because it is a measure of the performance evaluation. So they will try to achieve. So efficiency, effectiveness increases. But if you pressurize too much, or if you give a deadline which is not acceptable or which cannot be met at any cost, then this will only bring down the actual performance. Okay, now major difficulties faced on meeting the performance requirements of budgets. Okay, what are the major difficulties? Difficulty number one: budgets have no motivational effect unless they are accepted by the managers involved as their own personal targets. Very, very important. Very, very important. Whenever you fix any budget, okay, that budget should be accepted by the managers who is implementing or who is responsible. Okay, the manager have to consider that budget as their personal target. Okay, then only they will be motivated to accept those budget. That is why in most of the cases the budgets are linked with incentives. Okay, budgets are linked with incentives. If you are giving some incentive based on the budgetary performance, what is the impact that makes on the managers? They feel that yes, I need to achieve this target. Why should I achieve this target? Because I need to get the incentive. So that becomes my personal target to achieve the incentive. So I will consider it as my own challenge to achieve that budget, and my efficiency and effectiveness will increase. Okay. Now, up to the point where the budget is no longer accepted, the more demanding the target, the better the results are achieved. Okay, so up to this level where the budget is no longer accepted, say up to this level, this is the budget will be, if you increase the difficulty, it becomes more efficient. The persons becomes more efficient. Okay, but if you cross this threshold, then it will not be accepted by the persons. Okay, then demanding budgets are seen as more relevant than less difficult targets, but negative attitudes result if they are seen as too difficult. Yes, that is the behavioral science. If you give demanding budgets, people will be happy to take those budgets because they need to prove themselves. But if you give too much easy budgets, nobody will be eager to take those budgets because it doesn't require any challenges. They can't prove themselves because it's too easy. Okay, if you ask somebody to file an income tax return in 1 week, he will postpone it. Definitely he will postpone it. But if you ask the same person to file 10 returns in 1 day, he will try to achieve it because he wants to prove. So demanding budgets are seen as more relevant than less challenging or less demanding targets. But once it becomes too difficult to achieve, then the attitude will change to a negative attitude. Okay, so that is all with respect to the effect of budget difficulty on performance. Now what we have to do, there are one or two sentences also. Okay, acceptance of budgets is facilitated when good upward communication exists. Okay, now upward communication means what? Then there should be proper communication between the manager and the top management. If there is a proper communication, then budgets will be accepted. The use of departmental meeting was found to be helpful in encouraging the managers to accept the budget targets. Departmental meetings should be kept every now and in a periodical intervals, so that the communication is there between the top management and the lower management. It will be more so if the managers are not directly involved in the process of setting up the budget. If the managers are directly involved in setting up the budget, then what will happen? It will become their own responsibility to achieve the targets. But if they are not involved, then you should have proper communication between the top management and the managers who are responsible for implementing the targets, because only if that communication is smooth, there will be effective efforts from the part of managers to achieve the targets. Okay, right. Okay, Then we will have to move to the next topic. There are some case studies. I will come to those case studies later. Okay. Okay, then I will come to one more topic, small topic. Approaches to budget setting up. Budget setting. Can you take page number 11? No, page number 10. Not 10. Page number 7. Okay. Page number 7. Approaches to budget setting. It is not. We can cut this approaches. Approaches to budget setting. Okay. There are two types in which the budget can be prepared. One is top-down budgeting and the other one is bottom-up budgeting. I will tell you what do you mean by top-down budgeting and what do you mean by bottom-up budgeting. In top-down budgeting, the top level prepares the budget and it is imposed on the lower level. Okay, the top management, they say that yes, this is your target, this is your budget. They prepare the budget and it is given to the lower levels. Okay, and lower levels are instructed to follow this one. So it is an imposed style of budgeting. Whereas in case of bottom up, what happens is who prepares the budget? The budget is actually prepared by the lower level people. Okay, they develop the budget and it is sent to whom? It is sent to the upper level. And what does this upper level do? They review this budget. Okay, they do the review and they see whether it is in line with the organizational objective. If it is in the line with the organizational objective, then why do they have to worry about it? Okay, so they ask, okay, you implement the budget. So the first one is top down and the other one is bottom up. Okay, now in top down or imposed style of budgeting, the budget will be prepared centrally and subordinate levels of level managers will have only very less involvement in the budget setting as well as the target setting. Okay, whereas in the case of bottom up, or this is also known as participative budgeting. Okay, bottom up or participative budgeting. Okay, the subordinate level or all the employees, they participate in the preparation of their own budgets. Okay, so if there is sales team, the sales team will prepare the budget for the sales. If there is accounts team, they will prepare the budget for their department. If there is marketing team, the marketing team will prepare for their budget and production team will prepare their this one, and the respective managers, they will compile the data from each respective departments and it will be sent to the central authorities. Okay, and the top authorities, what they do, they only review and make or improve the quality. Okay, improve the budget prepared by the lower level. Okay, now what is the merit of top down? Top down budget is the merits are, you can see that is given less time for budget preparation. It doesn't take too much time because the top level knows in and out and they prepare the budget and it is given. So there is no discussion, nothing. They prepare the budget, it is given for implementation. Then another merit, better alignment with overall entities goals. Yes, that is possible because the top management know why the organization exists, what is the objective. So since they know the objective clearly, they can prepare budgets which is in proper alignment with the overall entities goals. Okay, next, assumes interdepartmental coordination can be handled centrally. Okay, this is an assumption which is there in the imposed style of budgeting, because when the budget is prepared by the top level, they assume that okay, we will prepare the budget and we know how to implement it and how to coordinate the departments. Okay, they know how to coordinate the departments because they are not involved. So it has to be, budget has to be implemented only with the proper coordination and cooperation between the departments. Okay, and the budget, the top management who prepares the budget, they know how to bring that coordination. Okay, now coming to next, the merits of bottom up or participative budgeting. What is the biggest merit? It is the quality of forecast, improved quality of forecast. Why there is improved quality of forecast? Because the forecasts are made by the persons who actually work on those data, because sales are forecasted by whom? The sales people. So they know what is the market condition. The production is forecasted by whom? The production people. So they know the capacity of medicine, the capacity of machines. They know what is the working condition of the factory, how many units can be produced. So the lower level people are better aware of the output. So if they are forecasting, it will be more realistic. Okay, then higher levels of motivation for participating in the budget process. Yes, if you are giving the power of budgeting to the lower levels, what will happen? They feel that they are also included in the entire process. So this entire budget becomes their budget. It is not the budget of the entity. Okay, it becomes the budget of the concerned department or concerned person. Okay, whereas both these methods has got demerits also. Okay, the first demerit in the case of the imposed style or top down budgeting is one, this style of budgeting may not be acceptable to all the users because they are not involved. Something is imposed by the top management, so it is very the chances that they may say that they might say that yes, this is not, we can't achieve this budget, this is imposed by someone else, and it is beyond our level. Okay, so it may not be acceptable to many of the departments. Then it may be inaccurate budgets. Okay, because who prepares the budget? The top management. So top management need not know what's happening in the field. Okay, so due to that lack of field level exposure or knowledge, the budget prepared may be inaccurate. Is it clear? Then what are the demerits of the other one? That is bottom up or participative budgeting. Okay, if you want to implement participative budgeting, it will be a time consuming process. Okay, then second object is what will be the merit of the top down budget, that will become a demerit of bottom up. This one, this budget prepared, it may not align perfectly with the overall entity objective, because the entity wants to have or want to become the best company or the number one company in terms of profitability in the market in 5 years. That is the objective or that is the goal. This goal may not be knowing to this bottom level people. So bottom level people, they will be preparing a budget which is too realistic. Okay, they will study the market conditions and they will prepare a budget, and thus those budgets which are prepared by the bottom level people may not align with the overall entity goal. That is one drawback. Okay, so these are the merits and demerits of both these models. Okay, now you have one more small topic, scenarios where top down budget setting is preferable. Top down means what? Imposed type. So which are the areas or scenarios where this imposed style of budgeting is preferable? One, where a process is highly programmable and clear, stable input output relationship exists. Okay, stable input output relations exist. What does it mean? What does it mean? Yes, if you know that the whatever be the outcome of the process, it is completely mechanized. The entire process is completely mechanized. Okay, and you know if you give this much input, you will get this much output. Okay, and all relation between input and output, it is clearly not, and there won't be any change in that. You can predict it very clearly. So in such case, you don't require the help of these line managers or low level field staff for preparing this budget, because you know what is the input output ratio, and this input output relationship will work without any fault. Okay, so in that case, you, the top management, can set a top down budget. Okay, now next, where a firm has large number of homogeneous units and operating in a stable environment. What does it mean? This is a situation where the firm has many units, number of units. Okay, and all these units are homogeneous in nature. Homogeneous in nature means they all deal in more or less same kind of items. So why do you ask them to prepare a budget? Because you know in and out about your units, because you have large number of units. So everybody, all units preparing their own budgets may result in multiple different types of budgets for same type of products. Okay, so that cannot be accepted. If you have homogeneous units, multiple units, then the budget of all units selling identical or homogeneous product should be in the same line, to ensure that somebody on the top should give clear instructions. So in such situations, it is always better to have a budget prepared by the other people. For example, you are a company which is selling mobiles. Okay, you have, let us say, 10 mobile shops in Ernakulam district in Kerala. Okay, if you have 10 shops selling mobiles, and all those mobile shops sell same kind of mobiles, okay, and you have all varieties of mobiles, okay, all shops are identical in nature, investment is identical, everything identical, but you have 10 numbers. Now there, if you ask each of these shop managers to prepare their own budgets, then they will prepare their own budgets in different ways. So the 10 budgets you are receiving from these 10 shops will be different, 10 different budgets. So that should not happen. So what do you have to do? If that is the case, you know how to prepare a budget. You prepare a budget and you give it to everyone. Okay, so homogeneous units being solved in large number of units, then it is always better to go with top-down budgeting. Next, where a personality characteristics of the participation may limit the benefits of participation. What does it mean? What does it mean? If you implement a participative budgeting, the people who are involved in that, they should be having sufficient personality characteristics to contribute into that budget preparation. The level line managers, they are completely illiterate. If you ask them to prepare the budget, then what will happen? It will result in complete chaos. So you can ask them to prepare a budget only if they have reasonable knowledge about budget preparation. Okay, so that should be ensured. Next, where the participation by itself is not adequate in ensuring commitment to standards, and managers can significantly influence the results. What does it mean? Okay, merely because they are involved in this budgeting, you can't expect the people to get the results. Okay, merely because they are implemented, you can't expect them to achieve the budgeted results. Okay, for that you require what? The supervisors, all those control measures are required. Okay, if that is the case, then why do you go for this participative any budgeting? Anyway, you will have to exercise all controls by supervisors, etc., etc., etc. If that is the case, then why do you ask them to prepare the budget? You yourself prepare the budget, because anyway you have to monitor. So you yourself prepare the budget based on your expertise, and you give it to them and do the monitoring. Okay, then next, where the subordinate level managers lacks the level of understanding to participate in a budget setting process, and they are merely doers than planners. Yes, this is something which I explained earlier, because if you have to ask somebody to prepare a budget, they should have sufficient knowledge how to plan and how to prepare the budget. If they lack that knowledge, then how can they prepare the budget? That would be the question. Okay, so if the subordinate level managers lack the expertise required for preparing the budget, then they can't ask to prepare the budget. They can only be followers, not doers, or not planners. Is it clear? So these are the scenarios where top-down budget setting will be preferred. Okay, right. Now with this, I think we will stop for the day. Okay. Now again, we will meet in the next week Saturday. Okay, then officially we have got 2 more classes only. Now this is 8th day. Now you have 9th day and 10th day. Probably I may require 1 more day for completing these topics. Then whatever is left over, I will share the videos with you so that you can prepare on your own. And wherever you have doubt, we will have sessions, some evening sessions or something like that, to clear off the doubts. Okay, so for the time being, I'm stopping for the day, and we will see in the next week. Thank you.